I hope everyone's doing well today on this fabulous Friday, February 10th, 2023. Welcome to Noontime Nuggets on the Dream Big Today Bible study. And the one thing that really stands out to me today is Jesus' unconditional love. I mean, we read in the New Testament in our reading today, it talks in Matthew 26, 47 through 68. It talks about how he was betrayed by Judas. And, if you just stop and think about how horrible that'd be. I mean, I'm sure we've all had people who we thought loved us and who we thought were our true friends betray us in some way. And it's a very painful thing to go through, but that pales in comparison to what Jesus went through with Judas. I mean, Judas was one of his 12 disciples, and Jesus knew what was in Judas's heart. He knew that he was going to betray him. But Jesus always kept in mind his purpose here on earth was to come and live a holy life and be the sacrifice for all mankind. And he thought that it was worth it to go through everything he went through for you and me and for every person that ever lived and ever will live on this earth. And so when when Judas betrayed Jesus, he called Jesus rabbi, but Jesus called him friend, and he showed him unconditional sacrificial love. He showed that to his betrayer. And he knew what Judas was there to do. He told him to go ahead and do what he was there to do. And Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss. And that kiss was a signal, that Jesus was the one to be arrested. And then it goes on to talk about let's see. Then the others grabbed Jesus and arrested him. But one of the men with Jesus pulled out his sword and struck the high priest's ear, slashing off his ear, or the high priest's slave, slashing off his ear. Put away your sword, Jesus told him. Those who use the sword will die by the sword. Don't you realize that I could ask my Father for thousands of angels to protect us, and he would send them instantly? But if I did, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that describe what must happen now? And so in John 18:10, that names the swordsman as Peter. And it would have been far better if Peter's hands had been clasped in prayer. And then in Luke 22:51, it talks about how Jesus touched and healed the severed ear. Again, love, Jesus, the love of Jesus, how he loves everyone. He didn't want Peter to draw his sword and cut off that man's ear. That wasn't what he wanted him to do. But Peter was acting out in the flesh. He thought that somehow that he was, trying to protect Jesus. But Jesus put it in perspective there when he said, don't you realize that I could ask my Father for thousands of angels to protect us, and he would send them instantly? That's worth rereading. I mean, Jesus, could have had that any time when he was here on earth and walking around on the earth as a human. But he knew his Father's plan, and he wanted to obey that plan. And aren't we all thankful that he did? And then we're going to read in verses 65 through 68. Then the high priest, okay, let me back up a little bit. So this was after Jesus was arrested, and he was brought before the high council, and they were trying to lie about Jesus and just trying to confirm that he was guilty of things, and we all know that he wasn't guilty of any of those things that they were trying to condemn him for, because he lived a perfectly sinless life. And so then the high priest stood up and said to Jesus, "Well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself?" But Jesus remained silent. Then the high priest said to him, "I demand in the name of the living God, tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." Jesus replied, "You have said it, and in the future you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand and coming on the clouds of heaven." Jesus was speaking the beautiful truth of what was going to happen, and that he was indeed the Messiah. And then the high priest tore his clothing to show his horror and said, "Blasphemy! Why do we need other witnesses? You have all heard this blasphemy. What is your verdict?" "Guilty," they shouted. "He deserves to die." Then they began to spit in Jesus' face and beat him with their fists. And some slapped him, jeering, "Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who hit you that time?" I mean, just unimaginable, just scoffing, and all he went through. And he knew that these people were blinded, by the devil, and he because he did nothing wrong, and ever. And so Spurgeon suggested some ways men still spit in the face of Jesus. They spit in his face by denying his deity, rejecting his gospel, preferring their own righteousness, turning away from Jesus. And we see that happen so much. The world that we live in, is, there's so many things going on that are just hard, and so many people that just love to sin, and they love to try to bring others into sin, and to make themselves feel better, and not even thinking how they can be destroying another person's life. And but Jesus is always ready. He knows that people spit in his face by doing these things, but he still today and forever will extend his heart of love to those who mock him and spit in his face. For he paid the price for the sins of all people when he went to the cross and laid down his life. So don't give up on your loved ones who are far away from God. And just remember, we all were once there, and nobody is born into this world perfect, and everyone needs salvation. And pray that God will send someone to your loved ones. God knows exactly what it will take to reach their heart, and he loves them so, so, so much. And it's his will that no man perish without him, but that all men come to repentance, men and women. And so he is full of love and grace and mercy and kindness and truth and wisdom, and every good and perfect gift comes from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. And I'm so grateful for his love and for his care. He cares for us very much. He is our good shepherd, and he loves us, and we delight in that, and he blesses our lives. So, well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm so glad to have been on here with you all, and I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time. Stay awesome. Bye-bye.